Yo, what's up, guys? How's it going? It's Michael from Chess Lifestyle, and as you can see, even the intro is botched. I am so exhausted. I've been playing 2 rounds a day for the last 4 days now. Final 2 rounds are tomorrow. Just to give you guys a big summary of my chess journey right now, it's basically, as you saw, I played in Birmingham like a couple months back, and since then I've played in Groningen, and now I've played two Hastings tournaments. I'm playing both the New Year's Open and the New Year's Under 2150, which is morning and afternoon. So, been playing a lot of chess. In Groningen, I scored 3 out of 5. I got 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss, all against stronger opponents. So I was very happy with that. And so far, in Hastings, I have scored 3 points out of 4 in the Open and 3 points out of 4 in the Under 2150. So also very, very pleased with those results. And this morning round, I was playing a guy called Sam Dukes, as you can see on the left, and his rating I think was around 2000 ECF and FIDE, and this was a FIDE rated game as well. And in the middle game, I got completely outplayed, and he just played it like beautifully to basically reach this position that you can see in front of you. And if you count the pawns, it is a bishop and 6 pawns against rook and 2. So if you do the maths, that's 9 against 7. Yeah. God, that was really slow. But yeah, sorry. Like, basically, I just want to show you. I just want to input this game, and I wanted to share it with you guys because this is just insane. So I just grabbed the pawn. Rook takes g4. This is move 33. So my opponent played b5, and okay, in my head I was like, okay, I'm dead lost, but I'm gonna go down swinging, right? And in my head, I was already thinking of like, okay, can I ever play the rook on the f file to cut off the king? But it doesn't really work because the bishop can always drop back to f6. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that I really need to get my king active. And also, ideally, I want to put this pawn on a light square. And I want to keep as many pawns as I can, because the more pawns I keep on the board, the more chances I have to create some counterplay. So on b5, I play king f3, activating my king. Black plays bishop d4. And yeah, I play rook g2. So my idea with this was that now if he takes my pawn, I can play rook a2, and I'm going to win his pawn. And his pawns are all like split up. Sorry, I'm using a touchpad as well. The pawns are all split up, and maybe I have a chance to like pick them off, right? So my opponent quite rightly plays b4, keeping the pawns together. I keep activating my king. He plays b3. And I think his plan with this was just to make my king very passive. But my king is in time to stop his pawn. He then plays e5. And now, this is a really careless move, because suddenly the bishop can't drop back to block this f-file. And I have a way to activate my rook. Rook g3, rook b3. So, of course, the correct move must be a king f7 to activate the king, because you need to use all your pieces. But my opponent was quite excited. And, of course, with all these pawns, he probably calculated some win and just went for it. So he pushed the pawn. I played rook g3, getting like a slightly bit active. He plays c4 to prevent my rook from activating and trying to come after this pawn. But the drawback with c4 is that it doesn't stop rook f3. And suddenly, it's already a bit tricky, because, his king can't get active. Yeah, and he has to be very careful now. So at this moment, he was still playing relatively quickly. He played c3, and only after this moment, when I played the move a5, did my opponent start to slow down a bit, because he suddenly realized that, hold on, I have just put my pawn on a dark square. That's not supposed to be happening. But I'm covering the square that it can attack. c3 is now blocking his bishop. And suddenly, it's not so clear. Like, if my opponent pushes the g pawn at all, like ideally he wants to play g6 and king g7, or g5, king g7, as soon as he pushes the g pawn, I can play rook f6 with serious chances on his pawn. And if he just... he can't move the pawns, he can't move the bishop without dropping this pawn. If he just plays a move like h6, I'm just going to improve my position with h3. So basically in this moment, I think my opponent had to find e4. And I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have played rook f1 to give myself more chances, because the problem is here, I think this is just losing for me. Like, to have these connected passed pawns is just going to be too much. But maybe I can play this. Maybe I can try and play this. But I think, okay, he can sack the bishop at the very end, and these connected passed pawns are going to be too strong. That was my intuition. So I was probably going to just keep it interesting with rook f1. But instead my opponent plays g5. And here I play rook f6, king g7, takes h5. And here I played rook c6 and offered him a draw. And I think objectively this position has to be a draw, like with best, well, at least draw. Maybe black is still winning, who knows. But my opponent thought it over and then said, I think he said like, let's find out what happens. So he plays on, he pushes g4, and I had planned for this. And my whole idea is that I can play a6, and after h4, which was his plan, what do you think I played? So feel free to pause the video if you think you can find the move. So here, I played the move, rook takes d3. And the point is, he can't take my rook because I'm going to promote my a-pawn. And suddenly my rook is defending against potential pass pawns on the king side. So my opponent played king g6. And here I have to be very, very careful. Like by this point, I only had like maybe a minute or so left, and it was only 10-second increment. And the point is here, there are two interesting looking moves. One is rook d3, and the other is rook c4, because ideally I want to sacrifice the rook, promote my pawn, and win because I have a coin. But the thing is with rook c4, it looks really, really tempting, because it looks as if black is going to play g3. We can take. I think this is the line. Let's first look at what happens if he takes. And the point is here, you can take, and it looks as if the pawn comes here, we promote, black promotes, and we're going to skewer and win the game. So it's very easy for you to calculate this and think rook c4 is the winning move. But the thing is actually, in this position, when they push, or earlier, black has the very, very thematic move, b1 equals queen. And this motif I've seen in Dvoretsky. Like, I studied the Dvoretsky pawn endgame. Shout out to my coach Nicola, because we did so many exercises, and this was one of the type of exercises that came up where you basically one pawn promotes, bring the king onto the back rank, and therefore, after king takes, now it's not the same, because pawn push, queens, and a queen with check, and suddenly this position is not winning for white. So basically in this position, I can't play rook c4. I don't know if king g6 was kind of bait to try and tempt me into playing rook c4. But I played rook d3 instead. And after rook d3, black played bishop a7, which I think is a mistake. I mean, now both of us were down to 1 minute. He spent like 5 minutes on king g6, which probably is quite naive because there's still a lot of this position to play. In which now I can play rook d7. He had to move the bishop again. I think this was the best square for it. And now I was really not 100% sure, but I calculated the best I can and felt like I can take this pawn. He pushed g3, and at this moment, I, again, was really trying my best to calculate, is it worth playing a7, bishop takes a7, rook takes a7, and have that position? Or take on g3 first and then push a7? Because the point is my rook can come via a1, a7, a1 to defend. But the thing is, what I felt was that if I just play a7 here, and we go into this, if black wants, black can just play the best move that was played in the game, but in the other line, which is king g5, bring the king into the game. But the thing is, here, okay, I have this extra pawn, but I felt like I wouldn't get any extra chances. Maybe black just has winning chances here. So I felt like much better would be to instead take this pawn. And after taking on g3, h takes, now I push. And at this moment, I still wasn't sure if the position is drawn or if I've even got a win. But okay, they have to take. And here, it would be very naive to play g2. Because g2, rook a1, king g5, rook g1. And I pick up the g pawn and I'm winning. So he has to play king g5, which is what he played. Oh no, sorry, he played king f5. So I don't think there's much difference, but maybe this is more flexible, right? You have more options with the king and you're touching both pawns. So this must be the better move. I played king c2. King f4, king d2, and here I think it's already getting very, very tricky. Maybe king f3 is the right move. He played e4, which allowed me to play king e2. And here he played king g4, and here I found a really, really nice move. Um, so here, what would you play? You've got, let's say, 10 seconds. What are you gonna play? Like, we're literally down to like increment, both of us at this point. Okay, so if you've spent your 10 seconds, the move I played was rook e7, and what I had calculated, I hadn't calculated rook f4, king f4, because if king f4, then that's not so critical. But what I had calculated was if king h3, I grab this pawn, he pushes the pawn, I play king here, he plays king h2, and I have rook h4 mate. So he can't play king h3. I'm in time. I'm in time to stop. So basically, after rook e7, he has to play king f4, which he played on increment, and suddenly he realizes that this doesn't work because I simply play rook g7, and now I just keep the rook on the g file, and my opponent resigned. So that is how I won king and rook and 2 pawns against king, bishop, and 6 pawns. I actually don't believe it. Like, it was an absolutely insane game, and my last round as well had a crazy endgame grind to win that game. That was very equal throughout the whole game. And just to reiterate some words of Brandon Clark, who was the international master I faced earlier in the competition, he basically said that in chess, you've got 3 parts. You've got opening, you've got the middle game, you've got the end game. And you got to just try and be as good as you can at all of these 3 parts. And if you can't break your opponent in the opening, you can't break your opponent in the middle game, you got to break your opponent in the end game. And that is what I did this round. That is what I did in the following round. And I have 2 more rounds tomorrow, and I'm going to start my preparation. I'm also going to have dinner. But I hope you found that instructive. Probably one of my best. Oh, what even is this position? Rook g8. Yeah, one of my best comebacks. Like, I don't know how. I literally don't know how I did it. Like, this is the starting position. B5 is correct as well, according to Engine. So I have no idea at what points he was going wrong. But definitely, I think the biggest problem was he never activated his king. Like, if you just bring this king in, you're almost definitely winning. Like, this is just like, this has to be winning. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.